Hey, what's up? Morning, Scone. How are y'all? Asking you shall receive. We had a comment yesterday from Brian Falgu. My son Drew kind of popped into the office here when I was recording Morning Scone. So we labeled part of it Drew Cameo, and Brian Falgu said, when are we going to get a turkey cameo? Well, ask and you shall receive. This is Turkey, the 17-year-old Maltese. As a matter of fact, she'll be 17 in 9 days from now. So took her to the vet yesterday. She got some arthritis. She's struggling to walk a little bit, but she still eats her food. She still drinks her water. She still poops and pees and all that sort of stuff. And she's a little nervous right now, shaking. Not gonna lie to you. She's not really sure what I'm doing. But this is Turkey, the 17-year-old Maltese, making her morning scone cameo. So there you go, Brian Falgu. Ask and you shall receive. A few things to talk about today. And as I say that, of course, now Drew is coming, and this is going to be a mess. But Morning Scone, we're going live today. You might be watching this on having recorded it, but no biggie. It just sometimes the video cuts off after 11 minutes when I record it in the YouTube app. So that's why I'm going live today, to let me go a little longer for him. Hey, baby. I love you. Mama. You're going to see Mama on Friday. Sorry, he loves Mama. Okay, so LSU baseball beats Northwestern State. Got an update on Nick's Stores. We'll talk on that here in a second. And Steve Ensminger claps back on Greg McElroy, something we talked about a bit on the radio show yesterday. We want to talk about. Also brought to you by Get Signed. Get Signed, digital autograph app for your smartphone. Making sure Turkey has not peed on me. She has not. That's good. LSU baseball gets a win last night, 9-5 over Northwestern State. Every run that LSU scored last night came with 2 outs, which is really cool to see. It was clutch. Matthew Beck gave LSU exactly what they needed. He went out and threw 3 innings, struck out 6. He struck out 5 of the first 7 hitters. He struck out the side in the first inning, struck out 5 of the first 7 he saw, and got 6 strikeouts in 3 innings. LSU, Caleb Gilbert came in, gave up 3 hits in 2 innings, but did not allow a run. He had 2 strikeouts. And at that point, you're through 5. LSU's up 8-0, and I'm actually looking, going, man, are they going to run? Like, if they could run rule this thing, that would be phenomenal. Save the rest of the arms of the bullpen. Didn't exactly work that way. So then they went with this parade of relievers, from Brandon Nowak to Will Reese to John Kodros to Taylor Peterson to Clay Moffitt, and it's kind of what we talked about yesterday. It's like you hoped you could use those arms just to get through the game, and in essence they did. But Northwestern State put together a rally. They put 5 runs on the board on 12 hits. LSU committed a couple of errors, so they had to go to Austin Bain in the 8th with 2 outs, and in the 7th with 2 outs. And it was, quite honestly, one of the funniest things, because I can't remember seeing this in particular happen. So it's 8-5. Northwestern State's got 2 runners on base, so the tying run is at the plate. Clay Moffitt had thrown to 2 batters. He walked a guy and gave up a hit. So Maneri comes out. He's bringing in Austin Bain. Bain's playing first. Maneri, on his trip to the mound, has 2 gloves in his hand. He's got the first baseman's mitt, and he's got Bain's pitching glove. So Maneri's walking to the mound with 2 gloves in his hand. He hands Bain his pitching glove, and he hands Jake Slaughter, who's at third, his first baseman mitt, and they made the infield switch. So it was actually quite interesting to see all that play out the way it did. But nonetheless, Bain comes in. He strikes out the hitter to get out of the 7th on 3 pitches, which was just, in the 8th. It was in the 8th. On 3 pitches, it was awesome. Just completely stemmed that whole rally. And then he came out, got 2 strikeouts in the 9th, got him up and down in order, 1, 2, 3. So it was great to see Bain go out and be effective. Of course, LSU got the win, which is, I'll do the regional thing again here in just a quick second. Let's see. Offensively, a couple of the standouts I want to talk about. Look, it was great to see Beck be really, really effective. It was nice to see Bain at the end of the game come in. Bain threw a 93-mile-an-hour heater in the 9th inning. Bain is a guy who you knew could throw low 90s, but I didn't know that he could rear back and grab 93. Because that's super impressive. Because he hadn't really been doing that earlier in the year. He was kind of throwing your 89, 91. If he can rear back and get 93 and have some elevation on that pitch, that can be tough to handle, and it was for Northwestern State last night. So Drew's coming over, so he's probably going to tell you hi in just a second. Offensively, Austin Bain led the way, 3 for 5. with a couple of runs scored, a couple of RBI. Antoine Duplantis went 2 for 5, had a couple of 2-out hits, RBI hits. Momo, you're going to see her on Friday, baby. Coombs, it was cool to see Coombs get the start as a senior. He came up with an RBI single with 2 outs in the first when it looked like LSU might waste an opportunity getting the first 2 guys on in the first inning. And then the big story again was probably Cabrera, who was 2 for 4. He kept his hot streak going. He also had a walk last night. The guy just can't. They just can't get him out. And he had a home run in the second or third. It was in the second. Had a home run in the second. He pulled it down the right field line. It was on a change. It was a 2-0 pitch. He was sitting fastball. They threw him a changeup, and he was out in front of it, and he still managed to yank it over the wall. It's just hard for anybody to get him out right now, man. He is so special. So LSU beats Northwestern State. A lot of people are talking about our regionals at this point. And I got to ask the question. Alden Cartwright, actually. Cartwright texted me last night. I said, is there any way LSU can host a regional at this point? And truthfully, the only way that it's even in consideration is if, hey, baby, Mom, you're going to see Mama on Friday. Why don't you go watch Mickey Mouse?
Mama.
Daddy's talking to all the millions and millions of people on YouTube.
Mama.
You're going to see Mama on Friday, Angel. Okay. That's true. So Cartwright asked, is there any way else you can get a regional? I said, look, the only way it's even in consideration, sweep Auburn and win the SEC tournament. If you sweep Auburn, you'd have a road series win over a top 15 RPI team. Your RPI would jump drastically, probably some 25, 30 points. Then if you were able to go into Hoover, win the SEC tournament, you'd have to beat teams, no doubt, like Florida and Arkansas, teams that are going to be national seeds, maybe Georgia. So if you won another 2 or 3 games against top 10 RPI teams, then all of a sudden your RPI is creeping into the conversation. You will have won the toughest conference in America, the conference tournament, and then you're in the conversation. But realistically, Mama, I know, baby. Why don't you go watch Mickey Mouse? Daddy's got to finish his video. Mama, I know. He loves his mama. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah? Go watch Mickey Mouse. Okay. Thank you. See you later. My mornings. Got a 17-year-old dog and a special needs child who keeps saying mama. And all of you. So, anyway, I think if you look realistically what happened last night, and you're looking at scenarios, walk, baby. Okay, go see Mama. Go see Mickey Mouse.
Mama.
Okay, come on, we're gonna go. Hang on one sec. I'll be right back. We'll finish. I apologize.
Mama.
Hey, come on, let's go see Mickey Mouse.
Mama.
Come on, let's go see Mickey Mouse.
Mama.
Okay, go.
Mama.
Go see Mickey Mouse.
Mama.
All right, you see Mama. Mama. Okay. Very good, Drew. Thanks. All right. I closed the door. He's probably going to yell at the door. My apologies. But this is real life. It's very, very, very much live. So, I'll put it to you this way. If LSU sweeps Auburn, did last night matter? No. If LSU takes 2 out of 3 and gets to 17 or 16 conference win, did last night matter? No. If LSU takes 1 game at Auburn, they're very squarely on the bubble, and they need to win a game in the SEC tournament, regardless of what happened last night. If LSU gets swept at Auburn, they're out, and last night still didn't matter. So all the people that ask about, do midweek games matter, even with LSU fighting for its tournament life, the fact remains, take care of your business in conference play, and ultimately this Auburn series is going to determine everything. They're not going to have Nick Storrs. 2 other things we'll touch on here. They're not going to have Nick Storrs. Paul Maneri made the decision to shut Nick Storrs down for the season. That's disappointing. He only threw 3 innings, and we're kind of hoping that maybe they could get something out of him. But after he threw a couple innings last week, his shoulder was sore again, and so Maneri made the decision to shut him down for the season. And it's disappointing, man, because he came in maybe thinking he'd be one of those guys that could vie for a weekend rotation spot, and it just didn't work out because he wasn't able to get over the bone spur on the shoulder that caused him to have that surgery. And you hope that he's healthy and ready to go next year, because if he is, then all of a sudden you're talking about a pretty potent staff, because you'll obviously have Mikhail Hilliard back, and then you're going to have Eric Walker back off of injury, and you could talk about whichever freshman that you add, and then if you're excited about a guy like Storrs, if he can maybe make his way into the rotation, and do you want Bush to be a part of the rotation? And my point is, you got got some options. You got some really good arms next year too. If, again, it's a big if it works out that way. So let's see if Stores can get ready for next year. So tomorrow we'll talk much more about the Auburn series. But real quick, something else I wanted to touch on here. Greg McElroy went on WJOX in Birmingham, which is Jocks FM. It's a heritage, sports talk station in Birmingham. And he said, and I'll read you his quote, he was talking about Joe Burrow, and he said he hopes that Joe Burrow goes to LSU. He said, quote, "I would love to see LSU with a quarterback in my lifetime. Outside of Jamarcus Russell, name a quarterback. I thought Mettenberger was really, really good, but they only could do so much with him because he would make some mistakes. I would love to see Joe Burrow be that guy." And then they went on to he went on to talk about, he said LSU needs to make sure Joe Burrow has the makings from an intangible standpoint more so than a physical standpoint. He goes on to talk about how LSU's had guys that are 5 stars and with physical ability that just never panned out because they would crumble in certain situations or whatever the case may be. So the response to that is what got news. I shouldn't even say Steve Ensminger tweeted it. From Steve Ensminger's Twitter account came, "Competition breeds excellence. Come compete to be the best right here at LSU. #GoTigers." And it's a graphic that reads, LSU is the only SEC school to have 7 quarterbacks drafted in the last 20 years. And it's got Josh Booty, Rohan Davey, Matt Mock, Jamarcus Russell, Matt Flynn, Zach Mettenberger, and Danny Etling. And look, first things first. There's a better chance that Steve Ensminger starts at quarterback for LSU this fall than him actually putting together that graphic in that tweet. Steve's in it. He don't tweet. Steve's not on social media. That's his Twitter account. But someone within the football office put together that graphic and did that tweet. Very possibly with Steve's blessing. But there's 2 things. First of all, it's a laughable clapback. You're talking about 5 guys before the last 10 years. The only guys in the last 10 years on that graphic were both transfers in Mettenberger and Etling. And Mettenberger was a 6th-round pick. Etling was a 7th-round pick. Hell, Matt Flynn was a 7th-round pick on there. Jamarcus was a bust. Matt Mock made a roster, stuck around for a few years, and went to be a dentist. I love Rohan Davey, and then Booty didn't really stick around. So it's not like you have this. If you're an LSU fan, you understand why that graphic is laughable. And the reality is, though, seriously, even if you want to look at LSU's history going back to, Booty and Davey were recruited by Jerry DiNardo, and you're claiming that as something that's indicative of what this program is doing now. If you're being real with yourself, in the last 10 years since Matt Flynn, LSU has done zip at quarterback. We had 1 good year with Zach in 2013 when you had Jeremy Hill and Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, that really good offense. But outside of that, it was it, man. The bugaboo with LSU football has been their inability to recruit and develop a quarterback, period. That's why you're going after a grad transfer right now, because the guys you recruited, you can't develop and get anything out of. So, that's first and foremost. But I think most people that follow college football understand why that graphic is kind of laughable. The bigger problem is just the general lack of self-awareness there. Whoever put this graphic together within the football department, how do you not know how that's going to be received? I'm not saying don't defend your guys or stand your ground, but the point is, this reaction came because of something that Greg McElroy said on a Birmingham radio interview. That only got more notoriety. McElroy's interview only got more notoriety because of your kind of absurd response. So, I'm not saying don't defend your guys, don't you spin your message and don't try to promote your program. Obviously, you want to do all those things, but at some point also, you got to be realistic. And if you're trying to sell me on Josh Booty being a reason that a quarterback today should pick LSU, hell, why didn't Alabama might as well just go say, hey, look, Ken Stabler came here, might as well come here. Hey, Joe Namath came to Alabama, might as well come play for the Tide. Or maybe the fact that McElroy and McCarron and Jake Coker and Hurt / Tua have all won national titles within the last 7 years. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? You know, so I get it, man. I get that LSU is trying to defend their guys and trying to sell their program and defend their message. But at some point, like, you can't be tone deaf. You got to understand, like, what the impact of that tweet coming from LSU's new offensive coordinator coming out of a spring where you still don't have a quarterback. That's been the narrative about the program for 10 years. You don't have a quarterback. You're coming out of this spring now. You're trying to recruit a grad transfer, hoping that he can sell. Like, the whole thing is like you're trying to save your quarterback situation for the first time in a decade, and you're going to clap back on a former Alabama quarterback with this graphic? That don't make sense, man. If we get news on Joe Burrow, we'll certainly pass it. And look, I hope Joe Burrow does pick LSU. Like, LSU is absolutely right going after him. They need him, and they need to be better at quarterback. And here's hoping he's a guy that can help them do it. But all this did was gain more attention for McElroy's comments than they otherwise would have gotten. And you got to have some awareness with stuff like that. All right, we're going to wrap up another edition of Morning Scone. By the way, if you haven't done it yet, go Google Danny Martini, a Louisiana State Senator. He chastised the Louisiana legislature for not passing a sports betting bill after the Supreme Court's ruling. He said, well, we're the laughingstock of the country. We're on our way to being 50th in everything again. Anyway, it's true. Here's hoping Louisiana does get in order and legalizes sports betting in the state. But coming soon enough, I would assume. But it'll be at least another year, I guess. All right, that's going to do it for us. Appreciate you. Hey, by the way, Get Signed, digital autograph app for your smartphone. Please download it, SYND. I'd appreciate it. Also, your boy has launched a new podcast, and I am thrilled to announce we are now on iTunes. So if you go to iTunes, just search Daily Scone, SCONE. A podcast is there. It's not a sports podcast per se. It's basically my musings about life and sports radio and media. I recorded one last night, The Art of the Interview, just kind of giving some perspective on how I approach interviews on my show and maybe some tips for young broadcasters. So peruse it, subscribe to it, hope you enjoy it. In the meantime, y'all have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow on Morning Scone. And by the way, Turkey, the 17-year-old Maltese, says bye.